terms of broadcasting sustainability, this is exactly this is a wonderful system. But I have to say, with constructive criticism, we don't really know. We just like mentioning it. We don't know what's going on here. Like what the value is. Like I understand that what you're doing there, but I think it's very unclear how that's going to be. Like how does that get translated to external stakeholders? I still don't have it. I really don't know how they have access to this, or how they're going to learn from it. Could you just start, like, maybe use a different way to describe it again, like how whatever's happening here is going to be of value to people who aren't there?
Mm-hmm.
Could you just say it in a different way?
Can I try to say what you said?
And summarize the goals to.
Just say your question.
Yeah, that could be interesting too.
Yes,
what is other people
what
how
understand
interpreting? Because I want to know how. Because you could say, like, we're doing this, this, and this here. I understand that. Like, we've got to work. Although I am a bit confused. What's the difference between the house that you have and the co-working? But anyway, so I understand, like, all the things you have, like a dairy, permaculture. That's not the question. The question is, how do all these activities and things you're building there offer value to people who aren't there? And for people that do go there, is it like a bunch of little mini tutorials for each of the different things? So like a farmer who's doing agriculture, they could come there and sort of say, learn how to do it more efficiently, and then take the knowledge home. Is that, or digitally somehow there's going to be live or filmed tutorials from this place about how they can be more efficient in their farms or dairies or sausage making?
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah, that's the example of activities that are going on now. Yeah, but we don't have the digital part yet. But yeah, people coming to learn more.
Because I think when you, like, the next times you explain it, I think you have to take more care to actually take it in more simple explanation steps. I think as you started explaining what's there, but then how do people? I think a good important thing is to think about the term access.
Yeah.
How do people have access? Not just literally speaking, but the first stage of access is understanding. So how could they understand what's going on, value, and then how are the ways they have? So like they have access as in they can go there physically. Access as in this place is like a grand sort of university or place of diverse tutorial from A to Z of agricultural living, agricultural sustainability. I think you have to try to break it up a bit more specifically. Like, like at least in the two ways. What happens when people go there physically? How can people get value from it externally through the digital aspect? Yeah, because I think we were I'm just saying for your sake, for when you're presenting it, because I think sometimes when you're in the middle of a project, especially something as incredible as this, in your head, because this is a very involved thing, and what you're trying to do with this is very expansive. So it's probably hard to break it down for people who haven't already been part of it. But the assumptions I made, is that accurate so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say, yeah.
And is there anything else besides sort of my simplification of it that I missed out on?
That's Peter. I'm not really what you think.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm thinking there's a lot of stakeholders here as far as like individuals tied to this within the region. It seems like across multiple verticals, right? Just like from the layout of this picture, there's a lot of different interests, but there's not necessarily alignment of those interests that are working together to demonstrate truly like how unique and really how this as a standalone community holds a lot of expert level knowledge, and it's tied to power. Like there's an association of 4,000 farmers. It's
Okay,
the best in,
I found this on the web
It's
so
the
to
be-
demonstrate truly and to like how we can make.
it's the best in Sweden. But do the stakeholders that are part of these components understand that they actually have that strength, that they actually have that expert level knowledge, that they have when it comes to green initiatives, they can really collectively not just learn from each other, but hold strength. They can create change. They can utilize the lessons that they've learned to advance green initiatives even outside of the region. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, we're getting closer.
Well, because it seems though that people, like the biggest challenge that I heard you articulate is people would rather work as individuals rather as a collective. And the tension between the entrepreneurs want this, naturally, as always the case, the agriculture people are like, I have my land, I have my family, I have, we're good. And like, how can you bring those two dynamics to work together in part to then kind of like showcase or strengthen or more so reveal the strength of this community and its potential? I don't know that, Ron.
Yeah, I think I want to build off the community concept because what is this place called again?
Green Center.
Green Center. Okay.
Center,
So whatever Green Center proposes to display or teach individuals or organizations, which is a lot of things it looks like, you also have to be, right? Okay, so then my next question is any of this these green sustainable initiatives, out of any of it, are you also aiming to show people the power of community as it relates to sustainability?
Do you mean like us as a project group haven't like that we show the people in the geographical area that the building community?
No, actually,
Or
let's start from the other angle.
Uh,
The external stakeholders, the
Yeah.
people that you want to learn from this, is one of the things that you want them to learn the role that community plays in agricultural sustainability.
I don't
Community,
think-
interconnectivity, you
yeah.
can call it a lot of different things.
No. If you look at like the growth, I don't know what you call them, growth forces, then clustering communities is like the stronger. It's almost stronger than like money making. So like in that way, yes, but not. Like, would you can you give an example how that would
The
be?
reason I'm going to tell you why I'm asking. So I'm coming from this with my own hypothesis already biased. I think you can't achieve anything without a strong community, especially with things like this where it's not the kind of people you're attracting represent a vast minority. Unfortunately, this is a new kind of movements that are happening, right? So, and I think especially with things like permaculture and all these green initiatives, I think the people that you have around you, for labor or even just moral support, I think that's the way anybody's having success. So I think that if you don't have a foundation teaching about how community is the basis for all of this, you could really be missing the mark. And if you would believe that, then you have to have a working community there to show people who come and people externally, and you're having trouble for people showing up to monthly meetings, which still is far from enough to build community, then I would say all efforts should stop and focus on community, how people can work together, and then start building buildings. Because a building, I don't think is going to really fix the essence of the foundation that should be needed here. Because sustainability in general depends on our interconnectivity as a community. So I don't know how you couldn't have a community aspect of this. I mean, it could be like a whole teaching about community building. You're building a permaculture forest and a cafe and a workhouse. What about building a community? That's the glue that ties this all together.
But how would you start off doing that?
Mapping.
Yeah, but when these are they are like soul islands. Could that, yeah.
I would challenge you already in that, because I don't know, in Austria farmers working together, they're sharing a lot. They're sharing the tools, they're helping each other out if there is a surplus of the things. So I think in some areas it might already work. In some areas you really have already a community. Besides that, there are some partners coming together wanting to create a cluster. So there are some people that understand the need of the community.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first step. First step, map what is around, that you really see what is around. Second step is really, where is it already working? Where can you identify patterns that there is an existing community in your region, where is self-organized help in between the players, and then build upon that, strengthen them, give them the opportunities to invite to showcase what they are doing and why it's working for them better, because they are working together, and then I think it needs to grow organically, and I totally agree with you. Don't think already about buildings. Don't think about already that, because make one step after the other. And if you don't have really the core values around the community, that is the core of the Green Center, because they will also bring their own solutions. They will bring more and more solutions.
I think this ties into I completely agree with both of you on this. But what I mean is these are a community already. These are a community already, and these are a community already, and with other clusters, you build a community and then you sort of call it a cluster. It's been simultaneously, but now this has been built up, and then you put the sign up like we are a cluster, and then it isn't really a cluster.
But what unifies them right now? If they're separate, so is the thing that unifies them now that they just kind of after the fact agreed to be part of the cluster?
No, they have the organizations have agreed, but it's been a very drawn out process, so things have taken time. I think that affects it, because then people change, some people quit, some people start new, so it lags.
Do you think that these sort of fragmented groups, because they're one way or another, they're still stakeholders in this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So could you try? Maybe you can consider some sort of a conference or seminar about the importance of community. What is community? How does it add value? How can it strengthen? I mean, otherwise they might. What are they doing, right? If somebody can prove them with case studies and analysis that they that they are better off working more together more regularly. Otherwise, maybe it's quite inefficient. If somebody can prove this to them, so maybe your next monthly meeting, make it like something really meaty. Maybe a multi-day conference where they have to kind of break off the groups, kind of like we've been doing on our journey here. But there should be at least a try, an effort to make people realize that community is the foundation of this, or else are they wasting their time? If they're already a stakeholder, they might as well really try to be a stakeholder. And you can start from there and then see if it changes anything. Because if you meet once a month, that's not enough to unify people. Once a week isn't even enough, but maybe if you have some kind of a session like that, maybe you can convince people to meet more regularly. Maybe like once in a while in town, once in a while here, but just more regularly.
Well,
This makes me very happy here because we have one of those days planned.
Oh.
So this is the perfect spot on.
I also would go more low leveling to that.
Yeah.
Let them experience community. So if you have, for example, 3 classes here, 1, 2, 3, make a summer party here. Make a party, make really where they bring some food, they bring some stuff, they bring some stuff, they bring their families, and they experience the community and with music, with it, you know, not only like on a rational level, you know, this makes sense, oh, this is the strength of a community, this is where we can, let them exploit themselves, oh, you're doing that, oh, I have some ideas in that, I have, you know, I could bring some resources in that. And then start maybe do it in the center that is maybe neutral, but it could also be like a wandering place. You know, one time this community is offering a coffee circle, then this is offering a lunch, and they're making after that a summer party or whatsoever. So in order to like not only like let them meet as people.
I would say like you can make the kilt more or less.
Yes.
Because the Green Center, that's a more constructed, all the words you use are constructed.
Yes.
So you need to find out what are the passion of the people there. That makes up the place identity. So dig a bit deeper there and let them come up with the words or the artifacts. So like a learning journey on the area, sort of.
Do you know what a kilt is?
No?
We can say we have a very good case study, both in film and like that, but what would happen if you don't have the cluster initiatives or pieces fall apart? Or what is...
I would think so, because, for example, there is something called a national wood or forestry strategy, which is a national thing, and then there should be regional ones done too. And we've done the same with food and it's basically like a strategy, so you can land on that for making certain decisions. So, and we've just it's just sort of been decided that we should have a forestry strategy, and then there's the Farmers Association. They think that it's their business, that they should hold it and they should do it. The region have decided that it's our regional development department, Torsta, who is supposed to do it. So are we going to have two? That's ridiculous, because it's the same people who go to courses Torsta who are members in LRF. So like it's so silly. Another thing. I was talking to you about the long list with all the advice that entrepreneurs can get now for free. There's a lot of things going on, so you're almost like tiring the entrepreneurs because there's too much going on, and things because people haven't met. You started projects which are similar, so you're like, oh, we've got a project about local food. We've got a project about local food, okay, but we've only got like 180 artisan entrepreneurs. You're going to bore them. You're going to tire them out by like doing all these projects. It's better to do one good project together and cooperate. So that's it. That's the purpose of Green Center. Green Center. It's not a new some new player. It's like the tools for cooperation, I guess, or the glue between the organizations.
Glue.
Does that?
Is it possible, if you're talking about building new buildings, so I have to go back to the community a little bit, but is it possible, or have you ever thought about actually having a living community there?
No, we haven't. No.
Because if you're going to build a new building, if it's going to be a hostel, why not start it off and see if you could make a living community there, attracting maybe international people? Why don't you turn it into an agro-real world?
I understand.
Put a bunch of people there and let nobody knows, people who know a little bit about agriculture, maybe people who don't. They live there, and it could be like a case study as well as they're doing work there, and you can show the benefits of community in a setting like that. Then you can, just one idea, just like throw it out there. If you could actually make a living community there. And then the other thing about community is if it's a challenge to bring everyone together, so then if there's not a living community, I still think that part of your education could be like, whether it's a tab on the website or seminars, still should be about community building. Even if it's not happening there, but external stakeholders still need to know the value that community plays in all of this. So, it's easy enough for us to sit here and say, connect everybody, make a community, but I'm not there with their personalities, so that's fine. So you're not a magician, but I think you could still talk a lot about it as one of the educational elements that you're helping people with. Yeah.
Sometimes I find it's like entrepreneurs are the ones who are easy to talk to because they see like, okay, this is gonna benefit me. I'm on, I'll do it. I'll come to this seminar, I'll come to this network lunch and stuff. But the people who are employed by like the state, they're more like, okay, I'm gonna go do my job and go home. It's really, it's much harder to sort of to get into their core and to get them to see.
Like Eric.
Sorry?
Like Eric.
I'm employed by the municipality too, so it's like, I think that's tricky.
Sometimes we are always trying to push people together, and this is not good.
Nej, they don't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have to make something that is really sexy, something really that is really drawing, that is really like.
If you had like a new community that came there, like there would be the neutral like magnet in the middle, like something in the middle, like a little building. I know this might be also quite easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
But if they saw a community flourishing there, then it might also bring them in, like a neutral community. People that aren't locals that maybe show up there or something. Also, I wanted to mention is this supposed to be just for Sweden or also internationally?
Like in the goals that we have, like in the paperwork, it's the northern inland of Sweden. But to be honest, if you're gonna think like that, you have to think bigger, definitely. We do have quite a close relationship with this area, the Trondheim, in many ways.
The reason why I ask is you seemed already a little bit concerned about the understanding of the word cluster. Do you think that everybody in these regions knows what you mean when you say that, when you're like talking about this like at an event or something? Do they understand it?
I'd say if you talk to people like in our branch, they'd understand it. But if I talk to my sister who's a psychiatrist, she wouldn't understand it.
So because of that, you might want to come up with other words or short references to this. So because if you're starting a conversation already explaining the title, what you're calling it, then it's not as fluid as it could be. Because this is something when you're explaining it to people, it has to be, because it's already complex for the average person who doesn't already know about it. I don't know, maybe you're only going to be engaging people who are already in the sector, but you might come up with some words to use that are instantly more recognizable. Like community, for example. Or does that sound like too hippie or something for it?
No, I mean, it's been we talked about using that word.
I think what you're saying is very important because, regardless of what kind of word you're using, I mean, it's what you put in the meaning of it. Because you can say now that there are like, 3 or 4 communities or clusters, but what do you really mean with it? So I think you have to work with the definition as well. What do you want to achieve? What is the meaning with the community? What does it stand for? For me, it's like it's an open platform that seeks for cooperation and co-creation and so forth.
What do you
because it's really hard to see that if you have, like, for me, to say that there are different communities within this small area. We drove through this, so you know. I mean, it's you can almost reach out and grab. It's a very tiny area. And to talk about communities and clusters in that sense, it's I don't think none of those words are really, you know, the right ones.
Well, I like the word tribe. Like, ultimately, like what you guys are trying to get is there's competing tribes within this community.
Is there?
Well,
How?
and the fact that not competing in the sense of conflict, but they're competing in the sense that they have a lot to gain collectively as a single community if they function as one tribe.
Yeah. Exactly.
But right now, like what we were just discussing, calling it a cluster, that just doesn't resonate. And I think in general, especially with like a physical location and a physical space, people are inclined, and from what I've experienced of Scandinavian culture, people are inclined to want to be like, yeah, like we are in agreement, or we are one tribe, or we are one community. It seems like even though there's a great deal of privacy, there's still a sense of a natural inclination to want to have a sense of communal belonging. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's been, he's shaking his head
No,
now.
it's totally correct. In my opinion.
Wait, totally incorrect?
Not correct. No, that's the, I think, if you don't like, that's why then, is it constructed or is it like growing out from something? So you can feel that on the words you're using. Like heim, for example, like fia. It's not a constructed word. It has some deeper meaning around it.
Yeah, but I think it's important to elaborate. I mean, in this regard, when I listen, it's more like on an organizational level that you can like. We were like a couple of people belonging to this organization, and we feel like a community because we are like having the same employee or something. But I mean, it doesn't mean anything. And we're sitting in the same house, so now we're a cluster. So you need to like elaborate a little bit about those words, because it could be like, okay, mission accomplished. We have created a cluster because we kind of ourselves define us as a cluster. So then we are a cluster. So I mean, but the thing is, I mean, you always have to look at what you want to accomplish and the output. That's more important. But you kind of frame or name things. But the thing that I'm really curious about, because I totally agree, I think you have great potential. What Ben says about this for the community and involving people. How much? I mean, I know a little bit about the farm. It's pretty conventional. It's a pretty conventional farm with cows and pigs and stuff like that, and you grow things. It's organic, long tradition. There's a long tradition of cooperation with the Swedish Agriculture University, SLU. At least it was. They have some land there, which now belongs to the property. The thing that strikes me is, have you thought of, according to what Ben said, I mean, there's a great movement about, transition, self-sufficient, another way of holistic management, back to the coal, as we said, there's the only thing that can save us is kind of the way you use the land, the way you get coal back into the system, into the earth, into the woods. What could be made there? Have you seen any like good examples that you can benchmark from? Because I mean, it's a great property. It's 230 hectares, so it's a huge property with both conventional land, forest, barns, school. It's like if you're talking community, all the ingredients are there.
There, exactly. All
You
the
have
meetings are there,
everything.
yeah.
I mean, you have.
But it's not.
Yeah, but it can be easy. It can be a party. It takes time. It's not something you need outsiders that bring the people together. It's if the neighbors are sitting next to each other and you know and they have this kind of habits. You stay together and you don't talk to each other because you had a fight. Your family had a fight 2 generations before. So you need to kind of find ways in a different way to. And this takes time, but it's just with each meeting and with a group of people coming there, talking to each other, like bring them together. Outsiders bringing very often people in the region together. So things like this, it's
I would say there are 2 sources there that you can start to look at different methodologies. One is the Enabling Cities. That's very good. 2 books there with ideas and lots of examples, like a cookbook. And the other is Sharing Cities with the second different sharing economy alternatives. If you want to have like what can we do, different activities. But I agree with Erik completely. If you start with make a small map here with the stakeholders, and you can use the 3 simple concepts of power and micro communities on the garden or on the area, who are like the 4 or 5 spots there. And then the third, what do you see some community? And maybe it's among the entrepreneurs, for example. They have a bit deeper meaning. And when you start to do a learning journey, you start with a passion. So you go out and say, who would like to do something here? And let them start. And then you say, yeah, but they are doing it. So you start by, you don't invite them, you go out and let them take the lead a bit and build on the passion locally. And some people might not like to be part of it, and that's fine. Maybe some are just have some strategic why they do this for some policy, but the entrepreneurs, they need each other, for example. So you split it up a bit.
So I think as part of that, but before that, instead of going around and saying, hey, who's passionate about this, come join. I think there still has to be an element of like getting everybody together at least once and educating them on the possibilities, because you can actually generate their passion first. If you go, it seems like there's a lot of missing knowledge there. So if you just go around now, hey, who has passion? You might get the majority saying not me, because they don't know enough yet. So I would have like 1 or several sort of that I think you have to make mandatory somehow. Like we're having like an all hands on deck seminar on, it could be a lot of things, but like the importance of the science of community building and benefits, call it whatever you want. Try to generate the most amount of passion you can, and then go back and say, okay, based on these new things we've learned, who's interested? I think that's a step back.
Yeah, but I don't, it's not that what I mean. You don't go out and ask who is passionate. You go out and to kickstart something. And around, because they would like to take the lead in the area. And then you do this mapping, what you speak about. But you build on a real, you don't build on a, of course it's a bit constructed because you need to go out and decide, but still it's a living, something, you feel it when you come there and start to do the mapping and the benefits and like that, but you build it around real activity.
I think both your ideas are not, both can work simultaneously. But to answer Erik, jump back. There is a really good example, I think, of, because we have like from Earth to like the table in this area. So together with another stakeholder, I guess, which is the, what's the word, Folkhögskola. What's that in English?
Folkbildning.
It's a kind of people, grown-up school, I'd say.
It's between high school and university, right?
It's like parallel to it. It's like another system.
Okay.
But it's usually you stay there, like you sleep over, and it's a 1 or 2 year course. So together with this Birka, which is a school which is close by, they have discussed and decided to start a 1-year course on sort of self-sustainability-ish. So you both learn how to, with Torsta, you learn how to use the land to make hay and make food and stuff. And then you also have time with Elrin, and you learn how to take the food and make produce out of it, something else. And in that way you have the whole scale. So to me that's a really good example of how we can cooperate, because we're good at different things. But we can sort of we can work together, and in this case Torsta can't have the course, Elrin can't have the course, but Birka can have the course at school. It works for them. We're just jumping back to an example of what's going on.
Yeah, I think the mapping activities are really good to make. I mean, both at local, like regional, national, global, different layers, and I think as I understood from you, Ben, you're going up to Tromsø after this.
Yeah.
To the permaculture.
Yeah.
And I would say permaculture, that may be some thing to look into, because it is about the whole system thinking, and I think that's the future for the agriculture sector to act holistically. So there are several things to look at. I mean, the permaculture, to start an initiative that unites, connects people,
where you can learn together.
Yeah, to a topic that is really broad and kind of grasps the whole holistic approach. Then there's it's like a big cake for everyone. So you get unified. You can have an annual summit. You can celebrate, cheer, start a bunch of new activities. So I think there are solutions. So I really think it's a good idea with the mapping, and then as you already know, Julia, I mean, the property is unique because you have a facility, you have the land, you have a school. You actually have 2 schools, because the school that is up on Torsta today is a high school, and then you have this other school for adult learning and education, the folk.
How is your cooperation with Godmorgon and those? How is the relation there?
We had a really interesting three sessions with House B. I've talked to Godmorgon also doing similar things with them. It's with House B. I started off with that. I went there on one of their Friday morning sessions, and I was like, "This is what agriculture is today." So I held a very short seminar about what it is. What does a cow look like? And people were like, "What? Is this real?" Because the picture you have today of what agriculture and farming is not what it is in real life. So that was really interesting, and people had tons of questions about okay, what if I buy this milk? How is that different from this milk? So the level of knowledge is really low, I'd say. So that was a great success. So then a few weeks later, my colleague Ole went there and did a similar thing. And then after that, I think it was in the beginning of December, we brought a real farmer there, a guy who uses a lot of technology in his farm. He has a small farm. It's only about 100 cows, which is not big at all, but it's sort of it's big for Jämtland. It's mid-size for Jämtland. And he did a session of this is what my company looks like today, and these are my challenges. What ideas do you have? So sort of similar to what we're doing today, but with a very particular question. And I've asked Godmorgon to do the same thing there, because I think we need to cross-seminate, I guess it's called in English, when you sort of mix the branches.
Cross-fertilize.
Cross-fertilize, tack så mycket. To come sort of even further, I'd say.
No, I think the trick here is that there are not many places or organizations that have the opportunity to have a playground as you have. I mean, most often we have a table.
Maybe that's what we are.
Best case, a cup of coffee.
A playground.
But if you have a playground as well, as you have, for instance, if you have this thing now, this old garden that 15 years ago was really flourishing. It's a history about people that were unemployed can come there because we had a project. Actually, I've been sitting there for 5 years, so I know a little bit about this. And it was a garden that was used for people that had been not feeling well for a long time, unemployed, and when they were just there doing things with flowers and trees, they got healthier, and it could be measured through their hormones in their spit, actually. So that's the reason why this whole thing grew. But I mean, if you're talking permaculture, I mean, you have the spot there, just to do it. I don't think it has to be that expensive. I don't think you have to build that much. It's just more, filling it with a concept that could kind of be like.
We've talked to lots of people about doing it because that's it would be the perfect place, and it would sort of again, about building community, but also it's like then you have the permaculture and you also have the conventional. So you have the whole spectra, I'd say, of agriculture. You're not just showing one side, you're showing a much broader picture.
Yeah, and there you think, I also think you have a strategic thing to kind of a little bit sort out, because this national center here for small scale handcrafted food production, Eldrimner, it's small scale,
Yeah.
it's not conventional. And this thing here is run more as a conventional education place for young people who, one way or the other, will be connected to a farm. So there's a little bit different view here. It may cause tension in the system of building a community, because it has two different ideologies behind, small scale versus conventional.
How did maybe missed that? How did it start, the Green Center project? What was the starting point
Well,
of that specific
I
project?
think it was 2012. Then we had what would it be in English? Landstinget. It's like
The regional authority.
the regional authority decided to sell or shut down the school and start the school. I think for many reasons, and they were sort of reorganizing. So then the municipality of Krokoms kommun, which is like the region, the even smaller region, said it's not going to happen. We'll buy it. So they bought it, and simultaneously, Eldrin, Torsta, and LRF got together and were like, we need to work together if this is going to work. And there were probably more people stronger than others in this, or more people affecting it in stronger ways than others to make this work and make it get together. So they had they did one project together for about 2 years, and the outcome of that was that they need somebody responsible for it. They have so many, the stakeholders are so different, and they're financed in different ways, that if one of them takes on the lead shirt, they could bulldozer over the others. So they need to have someone else who does it. So the Krokoms kommun, which is also the landowner, they said, okay, we'll do it. We'll be responsible for being this glue, or being this, cooperative force. So there's sort of two simultaneous processes.
Also, can I ask a question about funding? So, what's that structure like? I mean, is it, because it also, it's easy enough for us to just start singing out all these great things.
Ideas.
Build this, build that, but like, how is it funded, and is more money coming in from the government annually? Do you have to raise funds on your own? How's that?
What is different for all the stakeholders, like, the Farmers Association, that's a membership funded. Torsta is a sole company, but it's owned by the region, but it's also owned by the Farm Association and by the forestry, some forestry companies. So there's quite a good and interesting owner structure there. Eldrimner has got money from the government, but it's struggling constantly with getting finances. I think they have now 10 million crowns for 5 years or something. But that's, I mean, there's 20 people working there, so it's like the equation is not there.
Do you have any sort of general EU funding, or is it all local from Sweden?
No, it's almost all of the organizations here work with EU projects too, and that's EU funding. And my project, or I think the good thing about Grön Center, like how I'm employed, this is EU money and regional money, and it's because it's a project. You're also sort of meant to try things out that you haven't tried before. So there is like in Eldrimner, they're probably not going to want to do that, and neither in Torsta, because they don't want to take the chance or risk and do something that's going to fail. But with Grön Center, we've got this money for 3 years, and like, let's see if we can find some new ways to do things. So I have that space to try any crazy idea, or
So,
more or less.
so you've got 3 years of funding,
Yeah.
and with the funding you have for 3 years, do you think it's sufficient enough to do what you need to do?
No. What I would like from the others, and I've said that quite a few times, is that they need to have Grön Center in their yearly plans. There's only one of the organizations who does at the moment. They need to say to their employees that we are going to work with Grön Center, because, and this is not the enterprises. These are the organizations, because the organizations are. I don't say that they have a tie, because nobody comes with a tie to work, but they're like, they don't see things the same way as entrepreneurs do.
And which organization has it in the plan?
LRF.
In terms of funding, so there's been some funding from the EU. This might be a question that's hard to answer, but out of all funds possible, do you think that there's still quite a large piece of the pie that could be acquired if there was more research for funding? Or do you feel like everyone's gotten the max out of all funds from Sweden and the EU to go towards this?
I don't know the answer to that question, but my feeling is that people are really good in funding. Yeah, how we work. One of the organizations who sits with us, or who's got the office with us, they distribute EU money, so it's very close to it's very close to go and ask them, and also I mean, there are lots of different kinds. There are loads. There's a project called Interreg, a project type called Interreg, which is like Sweden, Norway. People have worked with that a lot, so I think they have even if I don't have the whole picture, I think other people do. Yeah.
Which organization would hurt the most if it fails and if in some way?
I would say it's both LRF and Torsta. I think the enterprises, the businesses, they'll be fine because they'll find a way to do it. And Eldrimner, because they have the national perspective, they're also not that big a risk. But I'd say LRF, they need to cooperate, and they need to cooperate locally, and Torsta definitely does too.
Which one's LLF?
That's the Farmers Association. Sorry.
The one of the 4,000 members.
Yeah.
So you think they have the most to lose?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. They and the regional development sector. The school is a bit on its own, I'd say.
To lose in what sense?
To lose credibility, to lose opportunities to make things better for their members and the entrepreneurs.
Through the cluster.
Yeah, if the cluster would fail. Ja.
What is the assets they have invested? Is it in LRF? What do they own? Something of the properties or?
Nej, they own a bit of Torsta.
And what values some estimate? What is it? What do we speak about?
What do you mean, like in money or?
Yeah, money. What is the
15% of they own of Torsta.
Yeah, but what's the value? 100 million or 10 million or?
No, the property is owned by the municipality.
Okay.
So the Krokom municipality bought the property from the region.
Okay, so the municipality. So if we speak about all the physical buildings and the land and everything, yeah.
Yes, owned by the municipality.
Everything. Okay, so they stand the economic risk.
So the company Torsta AB is just a platform. But I mean, the value there is the employees, I think. So it's just the platform itself. I don't think.
But it's the municipality who has the economical value of it.
Of course.
And what's the budget from every year, the turnover Torsta, for example?
I'm not sure.
I don't have the complete numbers, but the main contributor is my organization.
And how much is that roughly?
About 8.1 million per year. But that's for both for the high school and for the to support when it comes to strategy work and policy making within this field, so to say.
And what do you feel, because the municipality was not that much in the picture? What do they say?
Nej, men the municipality is me and Ola.
Yeah, but from the politics and what
do they say?
What do you feel? What is the dialogues and around this place?
No, I think it's positive. They no matter what side of maybe it's because it's election year. No matter what side of they've all come to visit, and they have some of their meetings in our building, also to sort of show what's going on and to and so they can see what's going on.
But is it a discussion? I mean, if one should think of the co-working environment that we have talked a bit about during this journey with the Morron and yesterday at House B, Digs, Works. I mean, all this. That's of course very, very interesting to think about if you can establish. And I mean, the problem in Jämtland in general and Krokom in particular, one of the largest municipalities when it comes to the surface in Sweden, and the municipality has about
15,000.
15,000 people, and it covers the area of like, if not Belgium, but half Belgium, I think. So
and people also scattered just like this.
They're scattered everywhere. The thing is like, how do you create critical mass? And I mean, how to. So if you have a co-working environment there, I mean, it would be really interesting to hear. Would like the municipality like relocate to Torsta instead of being a downtown Krokom with their enterprise support office, for instance? Because that's one way to hook up.
You can say in one way they have, because both me and Ola are part of that department. So in one way we have, but when we pose the questions, they say a better idea is to have like 3 offices out in Krokom, like Föllinge and and then you have an open office, and you can on Mondays I'm here, on Tuesdays I'm there. So you make yourself people can come see you when it suits them.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think Ben will fly out
just a
to
quick
Oslo.